Livia sat in the clinic. The doctor's words were heavy. Unfortunately, this is an incurable disease. There is no possibility of full recovery. Livia's pupils constricted sharply. What? She muttered in disbelief. An incurable disease. The doctor confirmed to her, yes. It's commonly called the demonization disease. I don't know how the condition worsened to this extent. When the flow of mana within the body becomes distorted, markings resembling black flowers appear on the body. As of now, there is no cure. Livia sat stiffly in her chair. She clasped her hands tightly, her body trembling uncontrollably. A sigh echoed in the clinic. Her father passed away not long ago, and now his daughter too. Truly pitiful. The doctor temporarily suppressed his thoughts. He picked up a bottle filled with gray pills. Please, at least continue taking this medicine. It can't cure you, but it can slow the progression. Livia looked up. If I take it, how long do I have? The doctor slowly replied, at most, about 3 years. 3 years, she murmured to herself. I understand. She walked out of the clinic's wooden door, her body sliding weakly down the wall to the floor. This is too absurd. So absurd I can't even laugh. Why am I terminally ill in this life too? Livia tightly gripped the hem of her dress, holding back her tears. Her name was Livia Plinkton. At 24, she inherited the barony. Her life unfolded in a vast mansion. At first glance, she seemed like a wealthy noble who lacked nothing. Livia stood at the bottom of a wide, empty staircase, a portrait covered by a white cloth hanging above her. But in reality, she had no family, no home, and no wealth. She was an impoverished, fallen noble. Of course, it wasn't always like this. During her childhood, her father was both a baron and a successful merchant. She had lived a life of abundance and love. However, when she entered the academy, the family's fortunes took a sharp downturn, and her life began to crumble along with it. Her father had always been charitable. When his only friend, Count Lefort, knelt and begged for help, he firmly grasped his hand. It's all right. There's no need for such formalities between friends. You could trust me. He was determined to help the Count, and thus made a fatal mistake, signing as a guarantor on a document. He had no suspicion that it was all a conspiracy to seize the Baron's immense fortune. He never suspected it was the Count's stepmother. In the end, the Baron inherited the Count's countless debts and went completely bankrupt overnight. Her desperate father ran around day and night trying to secure loans. As for her, she had no choice but to focus on her studies. It was the only thing she could do. Rumors had already spread, and she was ostracized at school. But even so, she had to endure it. She had one goal: to study hard, earn money, and live happily with her father again. Until that day, when everything changed. She looked up and saw a pair of dangling feet. She froze on the spot. Father, why? Why would you do this? She collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her face. Witnessing her father's suicide, she was so shocked that she collapsed on the spot and lost consciousness. During the days she was unconscious, amidst a surging tide of memories, she confronted the memories of her past life. She had been abandoned at an orphanage at birth. Just as she started middle school, she was diagnosed with a terminal illness. In that life, she waited for death alone. And now, as Livia Plinkton, she also realized that in the novel she had read before her death in her past life, she was just an insignificant side character. Being reincarnated wasn't so bad. Actually, at least in this life, she had experienced the warmth of a family. But the question was why? Why am I terminally ill in this life too? It had only been a week since she stood alone at her father's desolate funeral, and she had already sold all her family's assets to pay off the debts. The blow of losing her family was still hard to bear, and now she learned she was terminally ill herself. When she discovered she had a power, she had been overjoyed, but she never thought it would tighten around her neck like this. In fact, she possessed a power that no one else had, a mysterious ability to manipulate others' dreams. She had accidentally discovered this ability near her graduation from the academy. Watching her father, exhausted by creditors every night, collapse straight into sleep, she only wished to lighten his burden a little. She said softly, "Father, please go back to the bedroom to sleep." The moment she reached out her hand, a warm light suddenly burst from her hand. The light began to envelop her father. At first, she didn't know what that power was. But the day after she used her ability, her father woke up and said, "It's been a long time since I had a dream like that. I dreamt of having a picnic by the lake with Livia. My father told me that, and that's when I understood. But who would have thought that I would end up dying because of the source of that power, the distorted mana? Every time I saw my father's smiling face, I was so happy." Livia curled up on the bench, her body trembling with sorrow. If only the flow of mana could be fixed as easily as untangling a messy knot. A thought suddenly flashed through her mind. Wait, that's right. That's it. Livia shot to her feet. If I can just restore the flow of mana to its original state, won't I be able to live? And there's indeed something that can change the flow of mana. The heirloom of Duke Mercedes. That sacred relic. It's the heirloom of the Mercedes family, the only family in the empire blessed not by the goddess, but by the demon god. It contains the power to manipulate any mana in the world. That's right. How did I not think of it sooner? This was such an important event in the original novel. With it, I won't have to die in vain in this life. She tightly gripped the medicine bottle in her hand. There's just one problem. That heirloom can only be used by the current Duke Mercedes. And the problem is that Duke Cadian Mercedes is the hidden villain of this novel. Sub-villain number 2. He is tormented daily by the rampage of mana within his body, until he meets the Saintess Celestia. The Saintess can give him brief respite from his pain. From then on, he developed an obsession and madness for her. In the end, true to his role as the hidden villain, he met a most tragic end. Livia walked alone on a bustling street. How could I possibly borrow the family heirloom from a man like that? No, it's more than that. A fallen noble like me could never even get close to the Duke. This plan might be too reckless. She looked down and caught sight of a flyer on a table. What's that? It's a flyer from the Duke Mercedes household recruiting a private tutor. This is my chance. But she quickly noticed the flyer was posted 2 weeks ago. They must have hired someone by now. If I can't borrow the power of the heirloom, then I'll suffer the same fate in this life. She clenched her fists. All right, I have to go no matter what. I refuse to sit back and wait for death in this life. So she hailed a passing carriage. Excuse me, please take me to the Duke Mercedes residence immediately. Carrying her suitcase, her eyes were determined. I have to try, no matter what. The magnificent ducal mansion came into view. So this is the Mercedes ducal estate? Livia was stunned by the sight before her. So it's true. The empire is supported by the imperial family, the temple, and the Mercedes family. Starting from the main gate, everything was the epitome of luxury. She clenched her fists. If only I had this kind of wealth. Maybe father wouldn't have. Stop thinking about useless things. Surviving is what's most important now. I can do this. She took a step forward. A boy ran past her, a maid panting and shouting from behind, "Please slow down." "Young master," the boy shouted without looking back. "Don't follow me." He slammed right into Livia. Livia fell to the ground. The pursuing maid stopped in her tracks. "Young master, please wait." Seeing Livia, she turned pale. Head butler, there's someone over here." Another maid hurried to help her up. "Miss, are you all right?" Livia forced a smile. "I am fine. I came because I saw the notice for a tutor." Her gaze followed the boy as he ran off. "Is that boy the young master I'm supposed to teach? It seems I have a long road ahead." A white-haired butler approached. He bowed deeply. "It was rude of us to treat a guest who has come from so far this way. Please forgive us. I am Winston Gregory, the head butler of the Mercedes ducal estate. I must also apologize for the young master's rudeness just now. Are you uninjured?" Livia waved her hand. "Yes, I just stumbled a little." Winston sighed in relief. "That's good to hear. But may I ask what business brings you to the Mercedes estate?" The maid whispered to the head butler from the side. "Head butler, this lady said she saw the tutor notice." Winston and the maids all showed expressions of surprise. He turned to Livia. "Is that true?" He thought for a moment and then said, "Miss, this matter may take some time to explain. Why don't you come inside to talk?" Livia immediately replied, "Yes, no problem." She felt a little uneasy. "What's going on? Did something go wrong? I hope it's nothing serious." Livia was led into a magnificent hall. After she sat down, Winston personally served her tea. He began, "So, you came because you saw the tutor notice." Livia sat up straight. "Yes, my name is Livia Plinkton. I studied at the Imperial Academy, but..." Winston interrupted her. "I'm very sorry, Miss Plinkton. In fact, a new tutor for the young master has already been decided." Livia's smile froze on her face. Winston continued to explain, "It was my mistake for not taking down the notice in time. I'm deeply sorry for making you come all this way for nothing." "What? I was rejected from the start?" She held her head, feeling a wave of dizziness. I had held on to a sliver of hope, but as expected, Butler Winston was also thinking to himself, "The Plinkton barony. I heard the family fell after the Baron's suicide. No matter how unfortunate her circumstances, we can't just let anyone into the Mercedes estate." Winston wore a professional smile. "Of course, we will compensate you for your wasted trip, as well as the medical expenses for your fall due to the young master's mistake." Saying something like that in the estate meant they weren't leaving any room for negotiation. After all, Well, the notice was posted 2 weeks ago. It was to be expected. I can't give up just like this. I still have one last resort. A smile bloomed on Livia's face again. I just came at an inconvenient time. There's no need for any compensation. Thank you for the tea. I'll be taking my leave now. She rose gracefully. Winston hurriedly tried to stop her. Miss Plinkton, at least let us prepare a carriage for you. The moment she turned, Livia's legs gave way. She let out an exaggerated shriek and fell backward. This is the so-called frail tutor strategy. The documents in her hand scattered across the floor. Winston immediately rushed forward. Miss Plinkton, are you all right? Livia clutched her ankle, saying painfully, I'm sorry. I think I twisted my ankle. Winston guessed that she might have sprained it when a young master bumped into her earlier. Miss Plinkton, we should still prepare a carriage for you. Please sit down first. I'll gather your things. Winston knelt down. He froze as he picked up a document. What is this? Could it be a Ruby graduation certificate? Unbelievable. The daughter of a fallen baronial family actually possesses this certificate. This not only proves she was the top graduate of the Imperial Academy, but also the best of the best. The maid quietly prompted the head butler. Winston snapped back to reality. He apologized profusely. My apologies for my rudeness, Miss Plinkton. If it's not too much trouble, would you be willing to stay for some refreshments? To send away an injured guest like this would tarnish the honor of the Mercedes family. Livia rejoiced inwardly. Good, they saw my certificate, but she feigned reluctance. No, thank you. I was actually on my way to the Imperial Palace. I received an invitation to become the tutor for His Highness, the Crown Prince. Of course, I'm not one to covet titles. I'd rather go where I'm truly needed. Winston's heart skipped a beat. His Highness, the Crown Prince? He stammered in shock. An invitation from the Imperial family? He clutched Livia's certificate tightly. Miss Plinkton, you must become our Master Vincent's tutor. Livia feigned surprise. What? But didn't you say you've already found a new tutor? Winston looked troubled. I did say that. However, for a talent as exceptional as you, Miss Plinkton, it is worth hiring an additional one. The desserts on the table were exquisite and tempting. Winston's mind raced. Our young master has a notorious reputation among top-tier tutors. The one we hired before also had disappointing qualifications. I never expected someone even more outstanding to come to us personally. I absolutely cannot let this lady slip away. Livia sat quietly at the table, her expression composed. Winston pushed the tutor contract toward her. He guaranteed, this is the best compensation in the industry. You don't even need to look at it closely. In the last page of the contract, he flipped through the papers. The last page was blank. Winston made a tempting offer. Would Lady Livia be willing to fill it in herself? Whatever conditions you write, we will do our best to meet them. A triumphant smile played on Livia's lips. Everything is going according to plan. Now I can enter the Mercedes ducal estate. She spoke up. Since you are being so generous, I have no choice. Winston was thrilled. As expected of the Ruby certificate, it's truly trustworthy. Livia gave a brilliant smile. She picked up the quill. I accept. Livia thought to herself, good. I'll buy my time like this. I'll take the heirloom no matter what. Once I have it, I'll leave this mansion immediately. Getting involved with the hidden villain will not end well. Livia signed her name on the contract. He could have used my earlier rejection as an excuse. I didn't expect him to be so kind-hearted. Winston said with great anticipation, we'll be in your care from now on, Teacher Livia. And so, Livia excitedly threw her arms up. Infiltration successful. Winston smiled and suggested, it's raining today. Please stay the night. You can bring your luggage over tomorrow. We will have a room prepared for you in advance. Teacher Livia. Livia thought to herself, I thought it would be a guest room at best. The room was resplendent. But this bathroom is bigger than my entire bedroom. And the bedroom is more spacious than our living room at home. Money really is better the more you have. As her tension eased, she felt a wave of fatigue. Livia collapsed onto the large, soft bed. Demonization disease. Black flowers bloom on the body, and then you die. For an incurable disease, it's a pointlessly romantic notion. It was raining outside. The purple flowers seemed to swallow her. Of course I'm afraid of death. This isn't the path I chose. But death is death in the end. The window reflected a phantom image of her collapsed on the floor. Rather than die romantically, I prefer to live on, clinging to life, no matter how wretched. Livia suddenly remembered something. Come to think of it, they just called that child young master. He must be Vincent. The contents of the book surfaced in her mind. Vincent Mercedes, the adopted son of Duke Cadian Mercedes. The the little devil of the Mercedes ducal estate. He refused to go to school, and there were rumors that he used all sorts of vicious methods to torture and drive away all his private tutors. The immediate priority is to use the information from the original novel to get close to Vincent. Livia sat up abruptly. Wait a minute, she started to calculate. If Cadian is 26 this year, then how old is Vincent now? 10 years old. At that moment, she immediately recalled a scene from the book. On a rainy day, Vincent would climb the small hill to the west. She grabbed the hem of her dress and rushed out into the pouring rain. The rain soaked her hair. The words from the book echoed in her mind. He would lean against that lone, large tree, thinking of someone who would never come, without telling anyone. Alone, waiting by that large tree on the western hill of the estate. It must be there. Through the rain-swept cemetery, she saw the mountain path in the distance. It was when Vincent was 12. Vincent stood alone in the rain. He looked up, a hint of surprise in his eyes. Rain dripped from the leaves. That boy stood alone under the tree. Livia recognized him. It was definitely the child she had seen earlier. So he's this young. The original novel said Vincent awakened at the age of 12 and killed his father, Vincent Lore Mercedes. He entered the Mercedes ducal estate around the age of 8. For some reason, despite having Mercedes blood, he had been living in an orphanage. A woman at the orphanage told him, "Vincent, a guest has arrived. He is Duke Mercedes. He will become your adoptive father." One day, Cadian visited the orphanage and took his nephew, Vincent, away alone. After that, Cadian made Vincent his sole adopted son, his heir. From the day Vincent received the Mercedes surname, he became a target for other nobles. A noble woman whispered, that child of his with the unknown background, who wandered everywhere, must be an illegitimate child, right? Malice surrounded him. His Grace the Duke must regret adopting you. You can't even do something this simple? This is basic etiquette for a noble. It seems someone of low birth will soon be abandoned. He endured all the world's scorn and disgust. When I, who had no friends at the Royal Academy, heard the rumors about him, I could imagine how thoroughly he was torn apart. And so, Vincent, tormented his entire life, turned his anger towards his adoptive father. Finally, at the age of 13, his face covered in blood, he roared, "There was never a moment I thought of you as a father," and killed his adoptive father, Cadian, who had never once looked him in the eye. And the murdered Cadian actually had a tragic past of his own. Among the many who revered the Saintess, there were 3 male leads. The one who ended up with the female protagonist, the true hero, Crown Prince Sistrian Lair Lagrangesia, the Holy Knight, Eden Aquilium, and the final villain, Cadian Mercedes. Cadian, both a villain and a male supporting character, was killed by his adopted son, Vincent. Even Celestina did not love Cadian. That was when he had already broken down. After struggling in unbearable despair, he met the tragic end of being killed by his son. Perhaps Cadian was briefly saved by Celestina, but his son, Vincent, couldn't even find a glimmer of hope. Both father and son must have lived their days in loneliness and pain. Come to think of it, this should be before Cadian met Celestina. The Cadian of now must also be struggling and lonely. Livia shook her head. Enough. Stop thinking about it. I have my own problems to deal with. I don't have a luxury of sympathizing with others. Right now, to get close to Duke Cadian and this estate, getting on good terms with Vincent is the top priority. Vincent watched her warily. He suddenly turned and questioned loudly, "Hey, who's there?" Livia thought, "I need to be friendly, leave a good impression." She smiled and gave a greeting. "HLO." Vincent flinched, his face filled with alarm. He's clearly full of suspicion towards me. Livia felt a bit helpless. After all, I did appear suddenly. It's no wonder he's on high alert, but it's great that I could find him just like in the original novel. Let's start a conversation naturally. Livia began to explain, the rain suddenly got heavy, so I came here to take shelter. Livia leaned against the tree trunk and asked with a smile, "Are you here to take shelter from the rain too?" Vincent remained silent, just staring at her coldly. Seeing this, Livia added, "If you don't want me here, I'll find another spot." Vincent finally spoke, his voice small and timid. "It's fine." He sat down, hugging his knees. Livia's heart stirred. He's so cute when he lets his guard down. I really want to pinch his cheeks, but that would probably make him hate me. She gave a motherly smile. Right? Vincent is wary of his tutors, so I must get on good terms with him before classes start. Livia pondered. My original plan was to slowly break down his walls and become friends with him. But seeing a child standing alone in the rain, I just couldn't turn a blind eye. How can I break through Vincent's defenses? He seems uncomfortable because I keep staring at him. I should apologize. Livia was about to speak when she saw Vincent shivering. No, he looked scared. Seeing Vincent's slight trembling, I felt a strange sense of déjà vu. Voices echoed in my mind. Hey, did you know? Both his parents are dead, and he has a terminal illness. What? He's really got it all. The world's misfortunes. I heard you'll get infected if you touch his germs. Why are you always alone? That's why you have no friends. Those were all things I heard in my past life. Social anxiety. He's afraid of human contact. In that moment, I understood how Vincent felt. This child is going through the same pain as I did. I can't leave him alone. Livia reached out her hand and asked softly, "Hey, want to be friends?" Vincent looked at her, puzzled. "You don't know who I am?" Livia smiled and said, "I know. I'm a noble too. You're Vincent Mercedes, right?" Vincent stood up, agitated. "No, that's not it. You don't know anything about me. If you really knew me, you wouldn't want to be friends with me." Vincent's eyes filled with tears. Livia called his name gently. "Vincent, have you ever hit anyone or stolen anything?" Vincent's face turned red as he quickly denied it. And no, Livia's eyes held a hint of a smile. "Really? Then there's no reason not to believe you." She took Vincent's hand and said seriously, "Vincent, I don't believe the rumors about you, and I won't listen to them in the future. I'll only believe in the Vincent I see with my own eyes." She introduced herself. "My name is Livia Plinken." She extended the invitation again. "Vincent, will you be my friend? The rain has stopped. The weather's nice." Livia suggested, "Let's go back together." Sunlight streamed through the leaves, and a rainbow stretched across the sky. A knock sounded on the door. Winston reported from outside, "Master, it's Winston." A cold voice came from within. "Come in." Winston pushed the door open. Cadian was sitting by the window. He asked, "What is it?" Winston reported, "Master, we have hired another private tutor for the young master. He is an excellent candidate who received a ruby certificate from the Royal Academy." Cadian didn't turn around, his tone indifferent. "The young master's education is entirely entrusted to the butler. There's no need to report every single thing to me." Winston lowered his head. He said, yes. "I apologize." Winston continued his report. "Also, the young master is unwell. We have called for a doctor. He caught a fever after being out in the rain in thin clothes. This is all my fault." Cadian asked, "Is Vincent asleep now?" Winston replied, "Yes, he is." Cadian's gloved hand tightened on a document. He stood up from behind a mountain of paperwork. He said, "Let's go. I need to check on his condition." Livia, dressed in her nightgown, quietly slipped out of her room. She headed to the room at the end of the third-floor corridor in the West Wing. This must be Vincent's room. A few hours earlier, Livia and Vincent stood hand in hand before a magnificent door. After being drenched in the rain, she felt waves of chills. Vincent's cough had also gotten worse on the way. "I need to get him treatment as soon as possible." Livia tightened her grip on his hand. Suddenly, Vincent shook her hand off. Livia cried out in alarm. Vincent turned and ran away. Livia watched his retreating back. "I thought we had gotten a little closer. It seems it's still too soon." Winston interrupted her thoughts. "Is there something I can help you with?" "Oh, Mr. Winston." Livia explained, "It's just that the young master doesn't look well. He seems to have a fever and is coughing." Winston sighed. "The young master has a habit of hiding when he's not feeling well." "Thank you for telling me." Livia returned to her room. "But I'm too worried to sleep. I feel like a thief in this black coat. I can't believe I'm doing this." She quietly walked to Vincent's door and peeked through the crack. "If Winston is inside, I'll go back." The room was quiet. Only Vincent was there. He was lying in bed, making pain sounds. "Vincent!" Livia rushed into the room. "Where has everyone gone? Leaving a sick child here all alone." Vincent muttered in his sleep, "Mom, don't go." Livia touched his forehead. "So, it's not a normal fever. Does he have these feverish nightmares every time it rains? This is too much for a child to bear." Livia held out her hand, a soft light glowing from her palm. "Don't worry, Vincent. I may not be able to change your circumstances, but I can change your dreams." Livia opened her eyes, wondering, is Vincent okay now? He was still softly calling for his mom in his sleep. Did he get to see his mom? Even if only in a dream. Livia gave a small smile. "I'm sorry. This is all I can do for you. He looks much better. I should go back." Livia gently stroked Vincent's hair. She said softly, "Sleep well, Vincent. I hope I don't run into anyone on the way back." Just as she stepped out of the room, a stern voice called out, "Who's there? Who is loitering in front of the young master's room at this late hour?" Winston held up a candlestick, illuminating the hallway. It's Winston's voice, and next to him is... Livia's heart sank. Duke Cadian Mercedes, the man I must get close to in order to survive. I can't believe I ran into him like this. The timing is terrible. His eyes were dry and lifeless, his skin pale, his lips colorless. He looked like a walking corpse. These symptoms are definitely the madness. The world calls it the madness. In reality, it's a side effect of mana overload. But the truth was only revealed after Cadian's death. The thought that he had to endure this side effect his whole life only to die in agony, made Livia clench her fists. What a tragic end. Winston broke the silence. Ma'am, why are you standing in front of the young master's room so late? Livia came to her senses. She thought, I need to come up with an explanation first. Livia began, by rights, they should be strangers, but I was worried about the young master. Winston said, in that case, you could have called for someone. Livia explained, I thought you would be with the young master, head butler. However, Cadian spoke up. Enough. We can go in and check on him. If there's a problem, we'll hold her responsible then. Winston said hastily, Master. Livia felt a surge of anger. He's his own son, yet he's so cold and distant. At this rate, they're no different from strangers. Winston said to Livia, it's late, ma'am. Please return to your room. Also, I will post a knight outside your room, just in case. Is that acceptable? Livia said coolly, yes, please. Then I'll take my leave. Livia nodded and turned to leave. I need to get out of here as soon as possible. Cadian watched her leave, a flicker of an unreadable emotion in his eyes. Back in her room, Livia clutched her chest. That was so nerve-wracking. To think I'd dare to do something like that in front of Cadian, the Duke famous for eliminating anyone who displeases him. I was almost beheaded. Anyway, let's not think about that for now. So that's the madness. In his current state, he can't control his mana at all. The situation might be so bad that he needs to directly ingest calming herbs. This must make even daily life difficult for him. Calming herbs might temporarily relieve the headaches, but they don't solve the real problem, his severe insomnia. Cadian looked like he hadn't slept in at least a week, but he's stunningly handsome. Livia tossed and turned in bed. Ugh, stop thinking about useless things. Livia tossed and turned in bed. Ugh, stop thinking about useless things. Daylight broke. Livia rubbed her eyes. I barely slept at all in the end. I've only been in the ducal estate for a day, and I'm already under house arrest. I can't even go out freely. They're not going to kick me out of the estate, are they? A knock sounded on the door. Livia's heart leaped. Speak of the devil. The maid outside said, Good morning. My name is Chelsea, and I've been assigned to serve you. From now on, if you need anything, please let me know. Livia was a bit surprised. Oh, they assigned a maid to me. She smiled and extended her hand. It's a pleasure to meet you, Chelsea. My name is Livia Plinkton. Chelsea froze. Livia asked, puzzled, is something wrong? Chelsea snapped out of it and quickly explained, oh no, I just didn't expect you to offer a handshake. Maids are usually lower-class nobles or commoners. Their masters usually treat them as tools rather than living people. But I want to build a good relationship with Chelsea. Livia smiled and said, it's all right, Chelsea. I look forward to working with you. Yes, I look forward to working with you. They shook hands. Chelsea said, then I will prepare breakfast for you. Livia was stunned by the feast spread across the table. Hey, all this is for breakfast? She picked up her knife and fork. This is no time to worry about being kicked out. Even if I die, I'll die on a full stomach. She savored the food blissfully. Life in a villain's family is amazing. At that time, I had no idea how turbulent my life was about to become. A magnificent estate shone under the sun. White doves flew across the azure sky. Winston wore a warm smile. He spoke gently. Welcome, Lady Livia. Did you rest well? Livia replied cheerfully, yes, thank you very much. The breakfast was equally delicious. He personally dismissed the knights to call for me. It seems his suspicions have been cleared. What a relief. Butler Winston gestured towards a door. He said respectfully, please come in. The other teacher has already arrived. I'm finally going to meet him. The tutor from the original novel. Livia's thoughts drifted to the past. These were the words Vincent said to Cadian in the original novel. Vincent, covered in blood and full of pain, accused, my teacher said you don't see me as your son at all. He continued, he was the only one who truly cared about me. Livia's expression grew solemn. There were many reasons why Cadian and Vincent grew distant, but there was no doubt that tutor had a profound impact on their relationship. A familiar back came into Livia's view. That person's back looked somewhat familiar. Her pupils suddenly constricted. Could it be? A name flashed through her mind. Anna Lafour. The woman with long orange hair turned around, looking at her with a hint of surprise. Anna Lafour recognized her. She asked uncertainly, Livia? Then she exclaimed in delight, I can't believe I'm seeing you here. It's so good to see you. Anna Lafour rushed forward and tightly hugged as still processing Livia. Livia's body stiffened in the other's enthusiastic embrace. Anna said happily in her ear, let's get along well from now on. Livia was completely stunned. So it's true that people can become speechless when they're utterly dumbfounded. I'm finally experiencing it now. Anyone would think we were best friends. Butler Winston looked at them and asked curiously, do you two perhaps know each other? Anna Lafour immediately smiled and replied, ah yes. Livia and I have been friends since we were children. We even went to the academy together. Livia's mind was in chaos. Really? Anna asked with a hint of a mocking smile. It's a bond that's hard to break, isn't it, Livia? Livia met her gaze, a determined smile on her face. You're right. A very, very hard to break bond. Sunlight streamed through the window, filling the room. Butler Winston suggested, since we have 2 teachers now, I think we can split the class time. 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the afternoon. Anna LaFour covered her mouth, feigning concern. But Mr. Winston, I'm a little worried. Butler Winston asked gently, oh, what is it? Anna continued her act of concern. I've been here for a while, and I still haven't been able to get close to the young master. I'm worried if he'll be able to accept a new teacher. Livia understood perfectly. I knew you wouldn't let this go. Butler Winston smiled and said, you don't need to worry about that. Anna was somewhat surprised. What? He continued to explain. Young Master Vincent has already accepted Lady Livia. Anna LaFour was so shocked she was speechless. W, what do you mean? Livia calmly took over. Thank you for the arrangement, Mr. Winston. Since Lady LaFour has her own teaching methods, I think it would be more appropriate for me to take the afternoon classes. Butler Winston nodded in agreement. I agree with Lady Livia's opinion. The classes will be conducted in this manner, starting the day after tomorrow. Anna LaFour's face was filled with shock and resentment, her expression instantly stiffening. Livia's heart was calm. I see right through your little tricks. But this time, Anna, things won't go your way. Anna LaFour stood up. She tried to hide her composure. Then we should be going. But Butler Winston called out to Livia. Ah, Lady Livia. Livia answered, yes. She turned to face the butler, waiting for him to continue. Butler Winston requested, may I have a moment of your time? Only Livia and Winston remained in the room. The butler slowly began, I heard from a young master last night. He said you helped him when he had a fever. Livia's face was filled with surprise. She asked in disbelief, the young master said that? Butler Winston bowed. Although I cannot fully understand your actions, a favor is a favor. He placed his hand on his chest and said solemnly, I would like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude. I never thought Vincent would speak up for me. A warm feeling washed over Livia's heart. She couldn't help but smile. Butler Winston continued, I have been in this ducal estate for a long time, but this is the first time the young master has defended someone. He gazed at Livia, his eyes filled with expectation. Could it be that this lady is the one who can change the young master? In the hallway, Anna LaFour blocked Livia's path. She shouted angrily, Livia Plinkton. She pointed a finger at Livia, demanding, how did you become a tutor in this estate? Tell me, what are you planning? Livia just curled her lips into a cold smile. Anna LaFour grew even angrier. What are you smiling at? How dare someone like you smile? Livia replied calmly, yes, it's quite laughable, isn't it? You and your father were the ones who took everything from me, yet you act as if I'm your mortal enemy. Livia's thoughts sank into the past. If I had to summarize my relationship with Anna, she was the creditor's daughter and I was the debtor's daughter. But more importantly, she was the one who turned my life into a nightmare. The first time I met her, I was 9. My father brought me to stand before Count LaFour. He said to me, Livia, say hello. This is the daughter of my closest friend, Count LaFour. A young Anna LaFour smiled and held out her hand. She said, hi, my name is Anna. Let's be friends. The Anna I first met was a sweet and lovely girl. But as time went on, Anna's smile began to change. Livia held a doll and said to Anna, Anna, let's play with dolls. Anna swatted the doll away in disgust. She shrieked, get that thing away from me. She crossed her arms, saying contemptuously, do you really think someone like you can be friends with me? If my friends didn't like me, I could just cut ties with them. But the situation was different. A classmate walked up to Livia. Hey, Livia, I heard your father owes Anna's father a huge debt. He asked with a malicious smile. He also gambled all the money away and had to get on his knees to beg for mercy. Is that true? Livia retorted in shock. What nonsense are you talking about? They were the ones who tricked my father. When you become the debtor and they are the creditor, everything changes. The surrounding classmates whispered, that beggar. Why don't you get on your knees like your dad? What a disgrace to the academy. Anna's bullying never stopped. It became more and more secretive and vicious, always happening out of sight. Soon, just as Anna wished, I was completely isolated and left all alone. Did Anna even know that the reason I studied so hard was simply because I refused to lose to her academically? A determined fire lit up in Livia's eyes. I won't back down anymore. Since I'm already facing death, what is there to be afraid of? Livia looked at Anna calmly. She said firmly, I'm not afraid of you anymore, Anna. Besides, I know everything that happens in the original novel. Anna LaFour crossed her arms. She retorted contemptuously, so what? Are you going to get revenge on me now? Do you think I took anything from you? Livia's eyes turned icy. She said, word by word, Anna, you seem to be under a huge misunderstanding. You're not that important to me. She coolly declared, "The debt has been fully paid. I am no longer a debtor to the Lafour family." She turned to leave, adding calmly, "If you understand, then let's not cause any more trouble for each other." Anna shouted furiously behind her, "Where are you going?" "Livia, we're not done talking." Livia walked straight ahead. How strange. In the past, Anna was like a trauma to me. Just seeing her would make me terrified, would make me want to run away. But now, I'm actually glad that the tutor in the original novel was Anna. I'm sure Anna will try every trick in the book to get me kicked out of this estate. Livia's eyes sharpened. "In that case, I'll use you too. I will never give up the position of Vincent's tutor." Anna Lafour trembled with rage where she stood. She muttered through gritted teeth, "Livia, do you really think you can get away with this?" Her eyes burned with fury. She swore viciously, "I'll make you regret this." Livia walked alone on a path in the estate. She looked around uncertainly. "Is this the right way? I've lived in this estate for a while, but this is my first time on this path." She looked at the pass Butler Winston had given her, a golden cross inlaid with a purple gem. He said it was in this direction. A magnificent building came into view ahead. I found it. One of the prides of Mercedes, the library. The rumors are true. It's even more magnificent than the Imperial Library, especially since guards prevent just anyone from entering at will. Livia handed her pass to the guard. The knight confirmed it and said, "This is your entry pass." The library's interior was resplendent, with towering bookshelves reaching the dome. I came specifically to prepare teaching materials for Vincent, but in such a vast place, how am I supposed to find the books? Livia turned a corner of a bookshelf. A blond man was bathed in soft light. He wore glasses and held a book. "What is that? Is it an elf?" The man walked towards her. He spoke gently. "Hello. I don't believe we've met. May I have the honor of knowing your name?" "An elf is walking towards me." "No, Livia, snap out of it. That's so rude." Livia quickly composed herself. She smiled and introduced herself. "I am Livia Plinkton, young Master Vincent's new private tutor." The man's face lit up in understanding. "Ah, so you are the tutor. A pleasure to meet you. I am Raymond, the librarian of the Mercedes Library." Livia smiled in response. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Raymond." Mr. Raymond took her hand. He said softly, "The pleasure is all mine." Then he bent down and kissed the back of her hand. Livia froze instantly. Did he just kiss the back of my hand? Kissing a lady's hand is a gentlemanly act, but it's usually only acceptable at balls or social gatherings. In other situations, it's basically a declaration of, "I'm going to seduce you from now on." Livia quickly figured it out. He must have gotten the etiquette wrong. To avoid embarrassment, it's better to just let it go. Livia spoke up. "I'd like to find some reference materials for the young master's lessons. This place is so big. Could you please help me?" Raymond smiled and replied, "If you tell me the type and title of the books, I will find them for you." Livia took out a list. I actually made a list. Raymond took it and looked at it. There's several books. Could you wait a moment? A moment later, Raymond returned with a stack of books. He asked, "Are these what you were looking for?" Livia confirmed and thanked him. "Ah, yes. Thank you." Raymond suddenly thought of something. "If you're interested in books, would you like to take a look in that room?" He pointed to a door that blended in with the wall. I didn't even notice it before. Raymond continued, "Outsiders are normally forbidden from entering, but for you, Lady Livia, I can make an exception." He added with a mysterious smile, "And who knows? You might find something very rare in that room." "Well then, please excuse me." "Rare," he says. "Maybe I really can find something special. Should I go take a look?" Livia pushed the door open and went inside. She couldn't help but let out a gasp of awe. Wow, at a glance, there are so many precious books. Her eyes were drawn to one book. This book is... It was a complete collection of fairy tales. The ones my father used to read to me when I was little. Livia held the green-covered book. The title read, 12 Tales for a Sleepless Night. This book is impossible to buy within the Empire. Since I'm here, maybe I can flip through it. Livia was about to open the book when she suddenly heard a sound from behind her. What was that sound? There's someone behind me. She turned around and saw a silver-haired man lying on the sofa. It's Cadian. He was frowning in pain. Why is Cadian here? More importantly, he looks terrible. Livia remembered that Cadian suffers from mana rampages. He can't sleep properly, right? And when he does occasionally fall asleep, he has nightmares. If that's the case, maybe I can help. She gently reached out her hand, wanting to smooth his brow. Suddenly, Cadian violently grabbed her wrist. He opened his eyes, his voice hoarse as he asked, "What are you doing here?" Livia was startled and lost her balance, falling on top of him. You scared me. I've been waiting for a chance to be alone with him, but this situation is too scary." "Well then, I have to convince him." Livia tried to calm herself down. She requested, "First, please let go of my hand. I just saw that you seemed to be having a nightmare and wanted to check if you were all right. I didn't know you were here too." Cadian watched her quietly, without a word. Livia explained hurriedly. I just wanted to explain, so you wouldn't misunderstand. Well then, I'll be taking my leave. He quickly got up. He rushed out of the room without looking back. The door slammed shut behind him. Cardian stood alone in the room. He looked thoughtfully at the closed door. Strange, he touched his forehead. The headache he'd had for so long was gone. That woman. He said he was Vincent's tutor, right? His gaze fell on a book Livia had left behind. He slowly reached out his hand. This book is... Cardian let out a soft grunt. A faint smile appeared on his lips. How interesting. Time passed. The first day of class arrived. Livia paced in the hallway, her footsteps echoing softly. Livia let out a soft sigh, but the scene of that meeting still sent a chill down her spine. Just the look in his eyes at that moment. It was as if he could chase after her and do something to her at any moment. The thought of it made her feel sick. In short, after facing those two, all her confidence had vanished. That person's image replayed endlessly in her mind. Can I really convince him and get that family heirloom? Livia was deeply skeptical. She sighed deeply. She said to herself, I'm already standing on the edge of a cliff. Don't be afraid. For now, let's focus on teaching Vincent class well. Livia made up her mind. She smiled and pushed open the door, starting to speak. Well then, hello. Vincent. Her words stopped abruptly. She froze on the spot. Before her was an empty room. She thought in astonishment, Vincent isn't here. Livia began to search everywhere. She called out Vincent's name. Vincent, where are you? But whether under the big tree or in the stairwell, he was nowhere to be found. A full 3 hours passed. Livia panted, exhausted. He wasn't on the small hill to the west either. The only place left was here. Vincent's room. Where on earth did he go? Her gaze fell on a door. A faint glimmer of light shone through the crack, making her heart stir. Livia recalled her days in the orphanage in her past life. Back then, scared children would always hide in wardrobes. There was also a wardrobe in Vincent's room. So then, she gently opened the wardrobe door, asking in a low voice, Vincent, are you in there? The door opened. Vincent was sitting inside. He had his arms crossed and flinched, startled at being found. The boy let out a dissatisfied grunt, his face full of annoyance. Livia breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness. You're here, she said softly. Do you know how shocked I was when you were gone? I was worried something might have happened. A faint voice came from the wardrobe. Aren't you disappointed? Because I ran away. Livia gave a gentle smile. I was surprised at first, but I figured something like this might happen. We don't know each other very well yet. She took a step forward. The student continued. It's normal to be afraid of unfamiliar things. Running away is also natural. I just think. She crouched down, looking level with the crack of the wardrobe door. As long as you only run as far as this wardrobe, to a place where I can still find you, then it's okay. Vincent's red eyes filled with surprise. A warm feeling washed over his heart. He trembled slightly. The boy ran out of the wardrobe and hugged her tightly. He apologized, saying, I'm sorry, teacher. Night fell. Livia and Vincent were on a bench by the fountain. The water gurgled. You should have calmed down by now. Livia spoke gently. Vincent, were you hiding because you were afraid of something? Vincent lowered his head, his hands fidgeting nervously. He stammered, it's just because I'm so stupid. Stupid and afraid of disappointing you, teacher. So I was hesitant. Livia was a bit taken aback. What did you say? He continued to explain, I heard. That you've been a genius since you were a child, teacher. So you wouldn't bother with a fool and would definitely be very disappointed in me. Livia closed her eyes, a vein throbbing at her temple. It's you again, Anna LaFour. Damn it. Vincent asked in a small voice. I'm pathetic, right? Livia quickly waved her hands. No, that's not it. I'm sorry. It's not because of you. No one knew better than her the pain of Vincent being left alone in the world. Scenes of past loneliness surfaced. So how could I possibly abandon you? Livia gazed at the boy, her eyes full of determination. I will never be disappointed in you. Vincent asked, puzzled why. He said in a low voice, I might be really bad. Livia smiled and replied, because I am your teacher. If you are willing to trust me, I will respond to that trust. Do you feel a little more at ease now? Vincent's cheeks flushed. He nodded lightly. Livia had initially approached Vincent to make the mastermind lower their guard. She took his hand and asked gently, shall we go now? But at this moment, Livia just wanted to be a pillar of support for this child. In a way, Vincent was a victim of the original work, just like her. The two returned to the mansion's hallway. Livia began hesitantly, Vincent looked up at her and responded softly, I'll attend class properly tomorrow. So, he promised, I'll be waiting for you, teacher. Livia smiled and held out her pinky finger. She said softly, okay, I'll look forward to tomorrow's class. The two hooked their pinkies, sealing their promise. Vincent turned and ran off. Livia called after him, but walked slowly this time. Livia watched his retreating figure. Last time he fled in a panic, but this time his running warmed her heart. But more importantly, Livia's expression darkened. Anna LaFour, the image of that wicked woman and Vincent's fearful face overlapped in her mind. I can't let her be anymore. Livia's eyes sharpened. She made up her mind. She would never let her be manipulated at will again. A sharp pain suddenly pierced Livia's shoulder. She grunted in pain. What's happening? This sudden pain. Not only that, her vision began to spin. She swayed unsteadily on her feet. Her body lost its balance. She exclaimed as she fell backward, I'm going to fall. Just then a strong arm caught her. Livia, still shaken, found herself in a warm embrace. She slowly looked up, her eyes full of shock. She stammered out the name. Cardian. Cardian was looking down at her, his expression unreadable. Livia's mind went blank. What are you doing here? I clearly remember. Cardian absolutely hates physical contact with others. Did you catch me? Livia quickly said, Thank you. Thank you. Cardian's gaze fell on her face. He spoke coldly, evil. Livia was confused. Cardian said it again. You're bleeding. Only then did she feel the warmth on the tip of her nose. Why now of all times? Livia panicked. She covered her mouth and nose. I'm sorry. I'll be going now. After speaking, she turned and hurried away. Cardian watched her fleeing back. He thought to himself, Livia Prington. It seems I'll have to keep a closer eye on her for a while. A few drops of blood fell on the floor by his feet. The next day, sunlight filled the mansion. Just as I thought, Livia looked at the mark on her shoulder. She thought yesterday's symptom was the magic disease. This mark, it really does look like a flower-shaped spot. She remembered what the doctor had said. Every time a new spot appears, the body will show symptoms. Now that she had personally felt the abnormality in her body, she finally had the real sense that she was terminally ill. So, before the illness worsens further, Livia made up her mind. I must find a way to deal with Anna. Once this matter erupts, the consequences will be unpredictable. But she held a letter in her hand, her gaze firm. It was you who provoked me first, Anna. Anna walked angrily down the hallway. She couldn't understand it. Why? Why is Livia, who I thought would be kicked out in a few days, still here? When did she get so close to the Duke? The Duke even kept staring at her. He touched that woman's hand. And now even that brat who was always so obedient. Anna gritted her teeth in anger. In her memory, Anna had once said to Vincent, good job. You're very smart. But this level isn't enough to satisfy Livia. You know that, right? Vincent replied coldly, no. He looked at the book in his hand and said, don't make casual comments about Miss Livia when you don't know her at all. Anna was taken aback. Vincent's cheeks were slightly red. He said softly, Miss Livia is a very good person. How did she win that child over? Anna's heart was filled with questions and jealousy. If I let that woman Livia be, she will definitely become an obstacle to my plan to become the Duchess. Anna clenched her fists tightly. No matter what, I must drive her out of this mansion. To achieve this, I need a big enough incident. Anna called out to a passing maid. Hey, you come here for a moment. The maid replied respectfully, you called for me? Anna handed her a small bag, ordering, take this. Put in Livia Prington's room. The maid asked with confusion, what is this? The maid replied, Livia asked me to get some tea leaves earlier. She said it was a surprise gift for the young master. So put this in Livia's room. Anna sneered inwardly. Even if it's discovered, I can push the blame onto this maid. Anna LaFour thought smugly. Let's see how you get out of this one. A victorious smile appeared on her face. A carriage stopped on a dim street. The driver said, Madam, we've arrived. This is Secret 13th Street. Livia pulled her hood down, surveying her surroundings. As expected, this place looks like a lawless gray area. Illegal transactions are everywhere. The atmosphere already feels gloomy. Luckily, I prepared a magic robe that can blur others' perception of me. I have a reason for daring to set foot in such a dangerous place. Her gaze locked onto a sign. Roan Antique Shop. It seems I found the right place. Livia pushed open the shop door. The bell on the door jingled. The shopkeeper greeted her enthusiastically. Welcome. Are you looking for anything in particular? Livia thought to herself. Let's see if my memory of the original work is correct. Livia looked at the shopkeeper and said calmly, I'm here to find the moon. The shopkeeper's expression instantly turned serious. He stepped aside and said respectfully, we have a special guest. This way, please. Livia breathed a sigh of relief. It seems my memory was correct. This so-called Roan Antique Shop is actually the Empire's largest information guild. A disguised front. There are many ways to enter the guild, but the code phrase I just used is the highest level password, allowing me to meet the guild master directly. Whether it's information from the original work or not, I will use everything I can. The clerk smiled and said, "Well then, I hope you have a pleasant time." He pulled open a hidden door. Livia walked into a dimly lit room. A figure wearing a winter hat sat behind a desk. He said, "It's been a while since a guest came looking for me." He looked up, revealing a face with an ornate mask. "It's the guild master here. Lemon, what kind of request brings you directly to me? Please speak." Livia recalled the plot of the original work. Around this time, the biggest incident would occur, the attempted poisoning of the emperor. If this person is really the guild master, Livia thought, he will definitely not ignore this information. She took out a letter and said with a smile, "I want to sell this information." The guild master opened the letter, his expression changing. The letter recorded information about a noble family that was smuggling the deadly poisonous herb, Akaban. Not only was there information about this family, but it also detailed the distribution channels of the poisonous herb. Livia asked, "Now, are you interested in making a deal with me?" The guild master looked up. "It seems you already know the whole story. Akaban is a colorless and odorless poison that cannot be detected even with silverware. Not long ago, even the emperor was poisoned by it and nearly died. If I'm not mistaken, the royal family must be secretly investigating those who grow or smuggle Akaban. This information is hard to know unless you are one of the emperor's closest aides. I need to win the guild master's trust now." The guild master said, "If this list is real, there must be additional conditions." Livia replied, "That's right." She stated her request. "In the name of the Roan Guild, deliver this information to the captain of the First Holy Knights, Eden Aquiline. As it stands, the noble family smuggling Akaban will become the main suspect in the poisoning incident. But if I remember the original plot correctly, it was the priests who planned this incident. Originally, the divine power in the empire was strong, but for several generations, the balance of power began to shift. So, to warn against the transfer of imperial power, the temple planned a conspiracy. They planned to use the Sanus's power to heal the poisoned emperor, thereby weakening the royal family's authority. To avoid exposing their true intentions, they secretly ordered a noble family under the priest's faction to smuggle Akaban. Afterward, the temple even staged a fake arrest, capturing some influential figures, thereby further consolidating their position. The one investigating this incident at the time was none other than the captain of the First Holy Knights, Eden Aquiline. Livia thought to herself, if the plot develops according to the original work, the family that smuggled Akaban will be arrested in a year. But if I want to deal with Anna as soon as possible, I must move this timeline up. However, the temple will also start investigating me for knowing their secret. So at that moment, this Roan guild must become my shield. The guild master let out a soft grunt, then laughed out loud. He looked at Livia with interest. How did you know this top secret information? You even know that Eden Aquiline is personally leading the operation. Livia was secretly pleased. He believed me right away. Things are going smoother than expected. The guild master spoke. All right, I accept your proposal. However, in exchange, can I add one condition? Livia thought to herself. As expected, he won't let this go so easily. But if I want to continue using this guild, I must seize the initiative here. Livia proposed. Instead of setting a condition, how about we make a bet? The guild master was somewhat surprised. A bet? Livia explained. For the next 3 months, whoever finds out the other's true identity first wins. Livia knew that if it was Lemon, he would think this bet was in his favor. The guild master smiled and said, a bet must have a prize, right? Livia replied affirmatively. Of course. The bet I'm placing is the information you desire most. The guild master became interested. Interesting, he asked, and you will keep your promise, right? Livia replied, I will tell you when the bet is over. Because for you, nothing is more valuable than that information. Livia added, as for the code phrase for when one of us discovers the other's identity. The guild master smiled and said, how about we use this? The butterfly of fate. Livia recognized the phrase. The butterfly of fate. That's a story from imperial mythology. A long time ago, the empire was split into 2 warring tribes. As the war dragged on, the weary people prayed to the gods, hoping the gods would decide the victor for them. Just then, a butterfly suddenly appeared. It chose the victor, and the tribe that was not chosen was said to have later perished. That butterfly was later called the butterfly of civilization, a messenger of the gods. Therefore, the victor was considered to be the one chosen by the butterfly of fate. Conversely, this also meant that the one not chosen would face death. Livia thought to herself, using the butterfly of fate as a code phrase. Is this a warning to me? But my life is already in grave danger. Now is not the time to be scared by warnings. She replied calmly, very well, we'll use that as the code phrase. The guild master laughed and said, I'm very curious who the butterfly will choose as the victor. He stood up. Then, until we meet again, Livia walked out of the room, and the door closed behind her. She let out a long sigh. It's finally over. I was worried my identity would be exposed. Although those words came from that person, I still feel a bit uneasy. But never mind. Good news is good news. Livia said to the clerk. Well then, thank you. The clerk replied respectfully. Please come again. She walked out of the antique shop. Livia returned to the Duke's mansion. She breathed a sigh of relief. Good. I made it back in time for class. I can't make Vincent wait long for the very first class. She walked to Vincent's door, knocked gently, and said, Young master, it's me. I'm coming in. The door didn't creak as usual, but opened directly. What's going on? The door opened. Vincent peeked out from behind the door. He said softly, please come in. Livia saw he was a bit nervous. She thought with concern, did Anna do something again? Livia walked into the room and couldn't help but let out a gasp of admiration. The room wasn't just clean, it was practically sparkling. Livia thought to herself, he worked really hard cleaning for the first class. Vincent said shyly, I wanted to make a good impression on you, teacher, so I worked very hard. Vincent, Livia thought to herself, you're just too cute. She smiled and said, seeing you work hard for me really makes me happy. Vincent called out to her, teacher. Livia responded gently. What is it? Vincent began hesitantly. He looked up, his eyes sparkling with anticipation. What do you think of me? Vincent looked up at his teacher. His cheeks were flushed, his eyes filled with pure expectation. The question hung in the air. Teacher, what do you really think of me? Livia smiled gently. What a sudden question. She tilted her head slightly. What do I think of you? Of course, I think very highly of you. Vincent's small hand clutched her sleeve. Then why? He looked up, a hint of grievance in his voice. Why do you keep calling me young master? Livia was stunned. First, I was too familiar, and then I used honorifics. Did this confuse him? This is my mistake. I will maintain a consistent form of address in the future. She placed her hand on her chest and formally apologized. I'm sorry for confusing you. Young master, a suppressed sob. Vincent tugged on her sleeve again, insistently. Livia's pupils widened abruptly. Vincent said in a small but firm voice, Teacher, I don't like it when you call me that. Livia was a bit flustered. Wait, is he angry? Because I called him young master? Vincent likes me more than I thought. She reached out and gently wiped the tears from his cheek. If I hurt you, I'm sorry. Vincent, but that form of address, let's just use it between the two of us, okay? Vincent was a little confused. Why? Livia explained patiently. Because it might not be appropriate in front of others. As a tutor, if I speak too casually with my student, others will question my professionalism. Vincent took a small step forward. He stood on his tiptoes and leaned close to her ear, saying in a voice only she could hear, I understand. Then, when it's just the two of us, I want to call you Miss Livia. The name was like a soft sigh. Vincent stepped back, a brilliant smile on his face. Teacher is special to me. I don't want to call you the same way others do. A warmth spread across Teacher Livia's cheeks. Vincent, he probably didn't realize. A warm and distant memory surfaced. Livia was the nickname my father used to call me. She looked down at the boy, her gaze incredibly soft. Is that so? Then this name, let's make it our little secret, okay? Livia smiled. Then let's start our first lesson. She picked up Vincent's test paper. Every question was answered correctly. As far as I know, he's had almost no formal lessons, yet his level is surprisingly high. Livia showed a smile of approval. You observed very carefully. Better than I expected. I'm impressed. Vincent's cheeks flushed. Really? Livia reached out and gently stroked his hair. Yes, you did an excellent job. A commotion came from outside the window. Livia wondered, what's that noise? She walked to the window. A pair of knights in blue cloaks stood there. It's the knights of the Holy Temple. Livia watched him quietly, her gaze fixed on the front of the line. That blue-haired man leading them. Could it be Eden Aquiline? In the novel, everyone loves the Saintess. He was the second male lead, just like Cardian. He silently protected the female protagonist, Celestina, hiding his feelings. And he was Cardian's nemesis. The ducal house of Mercedes was the only family that did not believe in the goddess. Therefore, the heir of the ducal house often clashed with the captain of the knights, of the Holy Temple, Eden. The story also ends with Eden cutting off the arm of the fallen guardian. Readers were once deeply fascinated by the character of Eden, but for some reason, that scene always felt wrong to me. Her hand tightened unconsciously. A knock came from the door. "Miss Livia, excuse me." Livia came back to her senses. "Come in." A maid stood at the door. "The butler has a message. He requests all tutors to proceed to the reception room." Livia walked towards the door and was already waiting there. Livia met Anna's gaze. A flash of displeasure crossed Anna's eyes. Why is she here? But she quickly put on a smile. "Fine. This suits me just fine." Her thoughts returned to her father's study. Her father had said, "Anna, we have recently established a special relationship with the temple. Soon, we will send your portrait to Eden. So, mind your words and actions." He pushed open the door to the reception room. Anna greeted the people in the room. She whispered to herself, "You will regret your insolence at this moment." The light from the crystal chandelier filled the room. Eden's voice rang out. "Ah, you've all arrived. I've been waiting for you." He stood with Cardian. A silent confrontation filled the air. Livia was a little surprised. "I really didn't expect to see Eden and Cardian in the same frame so soon." Eden looked at the two ladies. "I was the one who requested the tutors to be present as well." He stepped forward. "I will escort you." Anna's lips curved into a smug smile. "Father was right. He really came to see me. I've always been grateful for the Duke's grace, but considering my father's words and etiquette, should I go with him?" Eden walked straight towards Livia. He stared at Livia and began to speak. "Miss Anna Lafour." A moment of silence. What on earth is he saying? Livia was about to speak. "I'm not Anna Lafour." A sharp voice interrupted her. "Please wait a moment. There seems to be some misunderstanding here. That plain-looking girl is Anna Lafour." Eden's gaze swept over Livia. "But for what I've heard, Miss Anna Lafour is very beautiful. So I thought it was her." A scorching gaze stabbed at Livia. Anna's face twisted with shame and anger. She screamed, "I'm Anna Lafour." She violently pushed Livia. Livia lost her balance and fell backward. A hand wearing a white glove caught Livia's shoulder. Livia thought, "Is it Cardian again?" She looked up in astonishment. Eden pulled her into his arms. He asked with concern, "Are you all right?" Livia breathed a sigh of relief. So it was Eden. She began to speak. "Yes, I'm fine. Thank you." Eden let her go, his expression somewhat apologetic. "I'm sorry. There seems to have been some misunderstanding." He turned to Anna. "Then, allow me to confirm once more. You are the daughter of Count Grand Lafour, Miss Anna Lafour?" Anna placed her hand on her chest. She answered proudly, "Yes, that's right. I am Anna." Eden nodded. "I see. I've finally found you." He held out his hand. "May I have your hands?" Anna's heart raced. "Oh my God, give him my hands. Is he going to give me a ring?" Exchanging rings is equivalent to a marriage proposal. Although it can't compare to the ducal house, Eden's marquis title is more stable. Unlike that madman Cardian, let him regret losing me. Anna bloomed into a brilliant smile. Of course, she joyfully extended her hands. Cold iron chains clicked shut. Shackles bound her wrists. Anna looked down in disbelief. Eden's voice was as cold as ice. "Anna Lafour, you need to come with us to the temple. You're under formal arrest on suspicion of poisoning His Majesty the Emperor." Anna's voice trembled. "What are you talking about? What suspicion of poisoning His Majesty?" Eden stated flatly, "There is evidence that your father, Count Grand Lafour, smuggled the highly toxic herb Acaban to assassinate His Majesty." Anna retorted excitedly, "That's impossible. My father would never smuggle something so terrible." Eden looked around. "Has anyone witnessed Miss Anna Lafour behaving suspiciously?" The maid Chelsea and the butler Winston stepped forward. Chelsea curtsied slightly. "Excuse me. In fact, there is something that has been on my mind." Chelsea took out a small lace bag. "Miss Anna Lafour gave this to me a short while ago. She told me to secretly hide this bag in Miss Livia's room and to keep silent. But I felt something was wrong, so I've been keeping it myself." Anna panicked. "I don't know anything. And that person is Livia's personal maid. It must have been Livia's doing." Livia spoke calmly. "Let's examine the contents of this bag. Then we'll know who it belongs to." Anna gritted her teeth. Livia Prinkton. The butler Winston stepped forward. "Very well. I will examine it myself." He opened the bag. A pile of black, thread-like objects scattered onto his white-gloved hand. Winston sniffed the contents in his hand. He said to the crowd, "Judging from the fact that these tea leaves have no scent, I dare say they are nothing more than common dried leaves." Anna immediately shouted, "See? I told you I didn't know anything. Livia turned to Winston. Isn't it strange? Tea leaves usually have a unique fragrance. Winston said thoughtfully yes. They should have their own scent. Livia thought to herself, if my suspicion is correct, these leaves are the same poison from the Imperial Palace incident. I must guide Eden to the truth by hinting at the leaves' properties. Livia spoke up. In fact, during my studies, I learned of a colorless and odorless leaf, but it becomes harmful to the body when steeped in hot water. She glanced at Anna. Of course, since Miss Anna prepared it for me, I'm willing to believe that's not the case. Eden turned to Cardian. May I interject? Cardian looked at him. Be my guest. Eden ordered, please bring some hot water. Anna's body began to tremble. Could it be that he's already figured it out? Winston, serve a cup of tea. This is tea brewed from those leaves. Eden took the teacup. He brought the cup to his lips and took a sip. His eyes shot wide open. A muffled grunt. The teacup slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. He clutched his neck in pain. Veins bulged on his face. Everyone was horrified. Quick, call a doctor. Eden raised a hand to stop the commotion. No, it's all right, he gasped. Without a doubt, this is the highly toxic herb, Akaban. A soft blue light emanated from within his body. Livia looked at Eden. A blue light surrounded him. Could be divine power? The symptoms of poisoning are receding. Cardian crossed his arms over his chest. So this is Akaban, the devil's herb that cannot be distinguished by temperature or smell. Once ingested, there is no cure. Livia remembered. Now that I think about it, the original work did mention that the calming herbs Cardian often chewed and Akaban belonged to the same type of poisonous plant. Is that why he knows so much? Eden closed his eyes. Indeed, most people believe so. However, according to the temple's recent findings, it can be purified by divine power. Eden took a step forward. Then the matter is settled. There is already evidence that the Lafour family smuggled Akaban, and this herb was found among Miss Anna's belongings. He looked down at the handcuffed Anna. Do you still insist you know nothing? Anna covered her mouth in horror. I know nothing about this. Eden's gaze sharpened. So you admit that the bag is yours? Anna was at a loss for words. The temple knights surrounded her. Eden's voice echoed in the hall. Since you attempted to use Akaban, you will not be able to escape punishment. Anna pleaded, please spare me, my lord. I am truly innocent. The knights took her away. A scream pierced the air. The door closed. Everything returned to silence. As expected, but I didn't think it would be resolved so quickly. Winston and Chelsea bowed slightly. We will also go help clean up the scene. Livia froze for a moment. If Winston and Chelsea leave, won't it just be the three of us left? The atmosphere was a bit awkward. Livia smiled and said, then I'll take my leave as well. I'm not feeling well and would like to rest in my room. Eden reached out a hand to stop her. Please wait a moment. You don't look well. I should check your condition. Cardian blocked Eden's path. Eden looked at him coldly. What do you think you're doing? Livia looked at the two of them. Their relationship is even worse than I thought. The Temple and the Mercedes family are notoriously incompatible. Their hostility began with Cardian's hatred for the Temple, and the Temple has always despised him. The Mercedes family is the only noble family that refuses to worship the goddess. Over time, their lack of mutual respect has deepened the rift. But why does Cardian hate the Temple so much? Even the original story didn't explain this in detail. A hand in a black glove gripped Livia's wrist. Cardian pulled her to his side. He looked at Eden, his voice icy. I just hate it when people touch what's mine. Livia's pupils contracted instantly. Cardian continued. Everything in the Mercedes family follows this rule. That, of course, includes the tutor. So don't touch my things. Cardian's hand rested on Livia's shoulder. He completely shielded Livia, declaring his ownership. Livia looked up, her eyes filled with utter disbelief. What on earth was he just saying? The Grand Ducal Mansion was silent in the situation. Livia leaned against Cardian. She felt a wave of confusion. Why is Cardian suddenly interested in me? He doesn't even care much about his own son. Vincent. Eden was a bit flustered. He lowered his head. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to startle you. I just wanted to see you before you left. Thanks to your active cooperation in the case, we were able to find evidence of Akaban smuggling. As the captain of the First Holy Knights, I will one day repay this favor. So, may I ask for your name? Livia was held by Cardian. She looked at Eden. Just like in the original story, he really is an upright person. Getting more deeply involved with the temple offers no benefits. Besides, Eden seems completely unaware that it was the temple that intentionally leaked the information about Akaban. If that's the case, there might be another mastermind within the temple. Because of the incident with Anna, I've already attracted enough attention. I should keep a low profile now. Livia spoke up. As a tutor of the Mercedes family, I just did what I was supposed to do, so there's no need to repay me. Livia curtsied to Eden. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. She turned to leave. The door closed with a sound. Cardian said to Eden, as he said, if there's nothing else, please leave this estate immediately. There won't be a next time. Cardian turned and left. The large door slowly closed behind him. The next morning, the ducal mansion was peaceful. Livia was having tea with Winston. Winston began to speak. Miss Livia, thank you for yesterday. If you hadn't checked those tea leaves, the ducal house of Mercedes would have been embroiled in unnecessary trouble. Livia smiled. In that case, it's time for that special clause to come into play. This wasn't a simple attempted assassination of the emperor. Since the poison was found on a tutor of the Mercedes family, if Eden hadn't caught him, the family would have had a hard time clearing its name. That's right, I did guide the development of events. To make Eden owe me a favor, please and no thank you. Livia put down her teacup. Winston, do you remember the special clause in the contract? It says that if the current tutor resigns, no new tutor will be hired for the next year. Winston nodded. Yes, I remember. Livia continued. Since Anna can no longer continue her lessons from now on, I will take over all of the young master's studies. A relieved smile appeared on Winston's face. On the contrary, this puts me at ease. If it's Miss Livia, we can confidently entrust the young master to you. I have no intention of interfering with your teaching. Livia smiled happily. Perfect. Now there are more things I can do. Winston added, however, the master has one request. From now on, he wishes for you to go directly to his study to report on your lessons. Livia was stunned. What did he just say? Having to face Cardian frequently is a problem. But anyway, the weather is nice. All is well. Even a problem with Anna has been resolved. She leaned back in her chair, enjoying a moment of peace. Vincent also seemed to have found inner peace. He was happily eating snacks. Livia looked at Vincent. Is it delicious? Vincent smiled and nodded. Anna, the person who created a rift between Cardian and Vincent, is now gone. The day this child would commit the crime of killing Cardian will never come. A mere tutor. The reason Anna was able to drive a wedge between them was likely because Vincent is not Cardian's biological son. Although Vincent is nominally Cardian's son, his biological father is actually Cardian's older brother. Cardian, as an illegitimate son, was born tormented by madness, receiving only contempt and ridicule from his parents. The only one who accepted him as family was his half-brother. It was also his brother who gave Cardian the magic pipe and calming herbs. But the day after his half-brother inherited the title, he suddenly left a will, ceding the ducal title to Cardian, and then disappeared without a trace. Since the ducal seat could not be left vacant, Cardian inherited his brother's title. The day after inheriting the title, the child he brought back was the 3-year-old Vincent. Perhaps Vincent remembers more than he lets on. Livia began to ask, Vincent, can I ask you something? Just one question. Is that okay? Vincent nodded. Livia asked, what do you think of the Duke? Vincent's pupils contracted sharply. He lowered his head, his voice faint. The Duke is a good person, because he's the only one who took me in. That's why I want to do well, but it's not easy. Livia had a realization. I see. So that's why Vincent wanted to refuse the lessons and hide. He knows better than anyone that his reputation is tied to Cardians. But Vincent is still too young to overcome reality with willpower alone. Overcome reality. Livia smiled gently. It's okay, I'll help you. Livia thought to herself, I still need to think carefully about how to help him. But the only thing I want is to stop Vincent from becoming what he was in the original story. Besides, if things go according to the original story, it will definitely hinder my search for the family treasure. In any case, there's only one conclusion. Livia arrived at the door of Cardian's study. She took a deep breath, her eyes firm. Cardian, let's start with you. She knocked on the door. Your Grace, are you in there? She knocked again, tentatively. Still complete silence. Is he not here? But he's not the type to go out often. A possibility suddenly occurred to her, and her heart sank. Could it be a magic overload? She subconsciously took a step back. Then she rushed forward again, knocking hard on the door. Duke, are you in there? The door opened. Livia breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness, he just didn't respond in time. A hand shot out from the crack in the door and grabbed her. She cried out, wait. The Duke was dragged inside by a great force. The door slammed shut behind him. She was pulled into an embrace, crashing against a solid chest. She looked up and saw the face so close to hers. It was Cardian. She called out softly, "Duke." Cardian didn't respond. Livia looked at him with some confusion. His eyes were unfocused. Has he lost consciousness? She recalled the plot from the book. Cardian couldn't control his magic overload and was tormented by endless nightmares. Is his body's struggle a resistance against the power that's consuming him? Livia clenched her fists, her knuckles turning white from the force. I have to help him. A normal person would have been crushed by this rampant magic. But I'm different. Determination burned in her amber pupils. I have the ability to change dreams. Perhaps I can shatter Cardian's nightmare. She raised her hand and brought it close to Cardian. This is the only way. A soft light shone from her palm. This is the power to dispel his nightmares. The light suddenly went out of control. Wait, my ability won't stop. She opened her eyes wide in horror. Something's wrong. I'm being swallowed by this light. Her vision was flooded with pure white. She slowly opened her eyes, her consciousness a bit hazy. Where's this? She found herself in a stone corridor. It was cold and damp here. That sudden burst of light. Something must have gone wrong. A thought made her heart jolt. Where's Cardian? 3 figures in hooded cloaks emerged from the darkness, their faces lifeless. Footsteps echoed. They walked straight towards Livia. Livia's heart raced. Who are they? Wait, they're coming over. I have nowhere to hide. She closed her eyes instinctively. The expected collision didn't happen. Their figures passed through her body. Livia looked at herself in disbelief. She looked at her semi-transparent hands. Could it be that I'm invisible now? A thought surfaced in her mind. If my ability activated before I lost consciousness, then I might have entered Cardian's dream. If this is true, she suddenly looked up, her eyes filled with shock and understanding. A young Cardian knelt on the ground, his silver hair covered in dust. Livia covered her mouth, a pang of heartache seizing her. This is too cruel. How could they do this to a child? A figure spoke. How was the ritual progressing? His companion replied, "It's almost over. This is the final step. Once the possession is successful, we will obtain the doll named Mercedes." Livia noticed the emblem on their backs. That pattern is the crest of the ancient temple. I've seen it in an archaeology book at the academy. It's a symbol that has long since disappeared from the modern era. Why would people wearing this crest do such a thing to Cardian? The figure continued to give orders. Once the ritual is successful, send him back to Mercedes. If it fails, dispose of him quietly. Now, let's begin. They slowly approached. Livia subconsciously rushed over, reaching out to protect him. In that instant, she felt as if she could feel his body heat. Cardian's gaze seemed to catch hers. He spoke, "Who's there?" This must be a dream. Livia was confused. Can he see me? But when she saw the glimmer of hope in his eyes, she despaired. Because this is a world I cannot interfere with. In the end, I can't save him. I'm powerless. And because of that, I force myself. Perhaps I've been too arrogant all along. I thought that with the ability to manipulate dreams, I could save him from his nightmares. She knelt on the ground, embracing the small figure. "I'm sorry I couldn't help you. I'm sorry I couldn't save you." A childish voice sounded in her ear. "It's okay." Cardian looked up. He gave a slight smile. "Don't cry." A sudden flash of light enveloped the two of them. Livia covered her eyes. The light was out of control again, but I still haven't been able to save Cardian. Cardian's figure receded in the light. Livia reached out, but only grasped at emptiness. The intense light faded. Warm sunlight filled the room. She collapsed on the floor, unconscious. With a soft groan, her eyelashes fluttered. She slowly opened her eyes. She slowly sat up. A warm light enveloped her. She looked around the familiar room. Is this Cardian's study? Am I back? A thought flashed through her mind. She whipped her head around. Cardian was lying silently on the floor. She immediately rushed to his side. How is he? She knelt beside him, carefully examining his face. Her anxious heart finally settled. His breathing was steady and even, the rise and fall of his chest calm and deep. The rampant magic had also subsided. A sense of peace surrounded him, but a new worry surfaced in her heart. If he remembers seeing me in the dream, he'll definitely become suspicious. Her hand hovered before his forehead, a soft light glowing in her palm. So, forget that terrible and painful dream. She gazed at him, a gentle smile playing on her lips. I hope this can help him escape that memory, even if only for a moment. She stood up. Now I should go get Winston. She turned to leave. A hand suddenly grabbed her wrist. Her pupils contracted. Cardian's eyes had opened at some point. Those purple eyes stared at her. Livia's mind went blank. When did he wake up? Wasn't I trying to help? The words stumbled out. "Hello, Duke." She snatched her hand back as if shocked. I mean, don't get the wrong idea. Cadian stood up, his expression unreadable. The wrong idea about what? Livia explained rapidly. I came to report on the young master's lessons. I only came in when you didn't respond. Then I found you collapsed. I was just staying by your side until you regained consciousness. I really had no other intention. Cadian watched her in silence. He finally spoke, his voice devoid of emotion. That's enough. Livia stood up. She looked up at him. The air between them felt somewhat heavy. Livia carefully studied his expression. From his reaction, it seems he doesn't remember. He doesn't remember the magic rampage, nor does he remember me entering his dream. Her thoughts drifted back to that dark dream. The dreamer was clearly a young Cadian. A group of people dressed in patterns from ancient divine texts seemed to be placing a curse on him. What on earth happened to this man? And this was never mentioned in the original story. It means Cadian completely concealed all his past related to the ancient temple. Her heart tightened. If he finds out I'm investigating that dream, will I be kicked out of the ducal estate? Then getting close to the family treasure will be even harder. Her train of thought was interrupted by a movement. Cadian raised a hand to his forehead, his body swaying slightly. Livia watched him. It's better to be careful. His face was frighteningly pale, his brows tightly furrowed. Is this an after effect of the magic rampage? She suddenly remembered it was the same in the original story. After every magic rampage, he was always left tormented and in pain. She held her chin in thought. Is there anything I can do to help? A thought flashed through her mind. I've got it. She fumbled in her dress and took something out. She called out, Your Grace, the Duke. Cadian turned at the sound. What is it? Livia opened her palm. She said it's a gift. A simple gold ring lay quietly in her palm. Cadian lowered his gaze to the ring. You're saying this shabby ring is a gift? Livia shook her head, a hint of mystery on her face. It's not an ordinary ring. It has a special ability. May I borrow your hand? Cadian was a little surprised. Livia didn't wait for his answer and gently took his fingertips. In that moment of contact, she suddenly felt that after glimpsing his vulnerable side, he no longer seemed so intimidating. She slowly slid the ring onto his ring finger. She raised her eyes, a hint of expectation in them. How is it? Cadian silently raised his hand. He examined the ring. A cold voice sounded. Filthy. Livia was stunned. That's not what I meant. I was asking if you feel clear-headed or refreshed, something like that. Cadian lowered his hand, looking at her with amusement. Clear-headed? In a good mood? I suppose I do feel better. It's not because of this ring. He took a sharp step forward, planting a hand on the wall behind her, trapping her in the small space. It's because of you, teacher. Livia's mind went blank. What? Has he discovered my ability? Cadian's breath brushed against her cheek. His voice was low and clear. Just by touching you, my mind becomes incredibly clear. It was like that last time, and it's the same this time. Livia's heart skipped a beat. So that's why. That's why he kept me here. Her heart sank. Cadian's low voice sounded in her ear. Tell me, teacher, what exactly are you? Livia clasped her hands tightly. This is a crisis, but perhaps it's also an opportunity. An image flashed through her mind. When the Saintess was alive, Cadian was able to escape his pain. Although I don't know the specific reason, my ability might have a similar effect. An idea formed in her mind. I should use this as a bargaining chip. She raised her head, looking directly at him. It seems you've already noticed. That's right. My ability can help you. Cadian pressed. What kind of ability? She answered cautiously. It's hard to explain precisely. But if you'll allow me, I'm willing to help you. She paused. However, I have one condition. Cadian looked at her, a playful smile appearing on his face. He took a step forward, the sound of his leather shoes crisp on the floor. Aren't you afraid? He leaned in close, his voice lowered to a whisper. Even without negotiating, you should know. If I wanted to, I could tie you to my side at any time. His breath brushed past her ear, carrying a cold threat. Aren't you afraid of me, teacher? The air between them instantly froze. Livia suddenly understood. If Cadian were truly as violent as he acts, in the original story, he would have imprisoned Celestina. But he never did that. Even though he loved her deeply, he only watched over her quietly, never trying to control her. So his current behavior is just self-protection, pushing me away before he gets hurt. I can see it because I used to be like that, because I also understand that kind of pain. Her hand slowly rose and gently caressed Cadian's cheek. I'm not afraid of you. Cadian froze. His reflection was mirrored in those purple eyes. He finally spoke. You're a strange woman. He slowly took a step back. The tense air finally relaxed. Livia let out a long breath. I wasn't scared, but it turns out I was more nervous than I thought. Cadian returned to his desk. So, what is the condition you mentioned? Livia said, I know what you suffer from isn't madness, but a magic overload. It will only worsen with time. The herbs will fail, and you'll be plagued by nightmares. Her gaze became firm. I will help you, Your Grace. I can make it so you no longer have headaches and no longer suffer from sleepless nights. Cadian scrutinized her. What's your price? I don't believe this is out of kindness. Livia took a deep breath. My request is the Mercedes family heirloom. Please allow me to use it once. Not now, of course. I will help you for 1 year. After a year, please allow me to use it. Cadian picked up his pen. His tone is flat, as if he were stating the weather. That's a pity. The Mercedes family heirloom was lost a long time ago. Livia's pupils contracted. It's not just a family symbol, but also proof of the family head's authority. Such a precious treasure was actually lost. Cadian continued. My older brother, the former head of the family, disappeared with the Mercedes heirloom. We are still searching for it to this day. Livia suddenly understood. No wonder Cadian's position as family head is so unstable. An illegitimate son, also burdened by rumors of madness. She looked at him, a complex emotion welling up in her heart. He's under so much pressure. Cadian's voice pulled her back from her thoughts. You must be very disappointed. After all, you came for the heirloom. Now that you've confirmed it's lost, are you going to leave? Livia answered without hesitation. Of course not. That's not the only reason I'm staying here. After seeing that side of him, after protecting the adorable Vincent, I can't just stand by and watch them walk toward their doom. Besides, staying at the ducal estate will make it easier to track the whereabouts of the heirloom. If there's something I can do, I want to change their destined future. She met his gaze, her hands clasped in front of her. I won't leave. Cadian watched her in silence, an imperceptible emotion flashing in his eyes. He finally spoke. We are also currently doing everything we can to find the heirloom. My goal is also to retrieve it as soon as possible. I will find it, no matter what. Therefore, I accept your proposal. Livia's eyes lit up. That's wonderful. Thank you, Your Grace. She glanced at the clock. Oh my, it's getting late. I should take my leave. Before I go, that ring will work on its own. But if you still can't sleep well at night, come and get me. She smiled and winked. It might really work wonders for your sleep. She bowed. Well then, until next time. She walked out of the room, the door closing softly behind her. Cadian was left alone in his office. I think I'm starting to understand why Vincent likes that teacher so much. He raised the corners of his mouth slightly. A strange warmth spread through his heart. A few days later, moonlight filled the ducal estate. She sat by Cadian's bed. I was the one who told him to call for me. But with Cadian's personality, I thought I'd have to wait several months. I didn't expect to be summoned so soon. Cadian was lying on the bed, his eyes closed, his breathing steady. Whispers came from outside the door. Winston was standing at the doorway. His hands were clasped behind his back. Chelsea, don't you find it suspicious? The master summoning that teacher so late at night. He turned around, his face filled with uncontrollable joy. There's definitely something between them. He whispered to Chelsea, see, I told you. There's something going on between them that we don't know about. I always thought they were a good match. I just didn't expect things to progress so quickly. Chelsea was unmoved. Could it be related to young Master Vincent? Winston sighed dramatically. Why are you so dense? Perhaps a new wind is about to blow into this ducal mansion. Livia asked softly, Your Grace, what should I do? Cadian's voice was a little tired. Just stay by my side. Livia answered softly, yes. I understand. She was a little troubled. Cadian doesn't know. This is the only thing my ability can do. But at this rate, won't I be completely useless? Cadian moved his fingers slightly. There's a book in a nightstand drawer. Hearing this, Livia got up. Yes, I'll look for it. She opened the drawer and took out the book. On the cover was written 12 Stories for a Sleepless Night. Livia was both surprised and delighted. Cadian asked, You seem to like that book. Livia smiled. This book means a lot to me. It was a gift from my father. But later, all the books at home were taken away. I looked for it for a long time, but couldn't find it. I had almost given up. Cadian said quietly, That must make you very happy. Livia smiled and nodded. Yes, very happy. She inadvertently met Cadian's gaze. Cadian looked away, a hint of melancholy in his voice. Is that so? It must be nice to have memories like that. Livia watched him quietly. At first, Cadian was so cold to me. Who would have thought he'd say something like this? Perhaps these are his true feelings. With his guard down, she hugged the book. Is there anything I can say to comfort him? She began to speak. But you also have important people by your side. Vincent is right here in this mansion. There's also the butler and the other people of the Mercedes household. From now on, you can still create new memories. You still have a lot of time. I will do everything I can to help you. Cadian looked at her, a gentle smile blooming on his lips. You really are a peculiar woman. I'm getting a little sleepy. Livia said softly, Please rest. I'll stay here with you until you fall asleep. The next morning, sunlight streamed into the room through the window. Winston pushed open the door. Master, the documents you mentioned. He saw Cadian sitting up in bed, seemingly having just woken up. Winston froze in shock. No way. The master actually slept in this late? Cadian looked at him calmly. What time is it? Livia rested her chin on her hand. Should I have waited a little longer? I saw him fall asleep while preparing his lessons, so I left early. Vincent's voice interrupted her thoughts. Teacher, I've finished everything. She came to her senses. Okay, let's take a look. She picked up her grading pen, her eyes scanning the test paper. Her hand stopped. How is this possible? Every single answer is correct. But yesterday, he hadn't even fully grasped the concepts. Vincent is diligent, but how could he improve so much overnight? Wait, could it be? She put down her pen and looked at him seriously. Did you finish all of this by yourself last night? Vincent's cheeks flushed. He fell silent and looked away. A wave of guilt washed over Livia. Oh my God. So this is why Vincent never fell behind. He's been working hard in secret where no one could see. I've only ever judged him based on the original story. I'm ashamed of myself for ever thinking he wasn't studying seriously. Vincent and Cadian too. They're not the same people as the characters I knew from the original story. And yet I jumped to conclusions. I'm not qualified to be his teacher. She reached out and gently stroked Vincent's head. You did a great job. Since you've worked so hard, Vincent, I should give you a reward. Is there anything you want? Vincent hesitated. I don't really want anything, but there is something I want to do. Livia asked curiously, what is it? Vincent mustered his courage. He shouted, Miss Livia, I want to go to the festival with you. Livia was completely stunned. Seeing this, Vincent panicked. Is that not okay? He quickly waved his hands. If it's too much trouble, then never mind. Livia was in a difficult position. What should I do? This isn't something I can decide. But his eyes are sparkling as he looks at me. She made up her mind and stood up. All right, let's go. If Vincent wants to go, then to the festival we'll go. Vincent cheered. Really? That's great. Why do people do things they know they shouldn't? Because just knowing isn't enough to stop us. By the time we realize our mistake, it's already too late. At this point, my only option is to persuade Cadian. But I didn't realize that this decision would lead to the path of the future. She and Vincent stood there, dressed in splendid attire. She spoke, a little uneasy. Your Grace, the Duke. Cadian stood before them. He said with a cold expression, you're late. How did things turn out like this? It all started when she placed a test paper covered in red circles on Cadian's desk. Cadian looked up. What's this? Livia said, this is young Master Vincent's test paper. Basic Magic, Volume 5. Even for a 10-year-old, these are difficult concepts, yet he got a perfect score. Cadian rested his chin on his hand. So, are you trying to say Vincent is some kind of prodigy? Livia shook her head. The young master is indeed talented, but this isn't all due to talent. To master it to this degree, he must have studied alone late into the night after his lessons. Therefore, I believe he deserves a break for his efforts. There's a festival in 3 days. If your grace permits, I would like to take the young master there. Cadian pondered. The teacher and Vincent? He finally spoke. All right, let's do that. Livia's eyes lit up. Really? Thank you, your grace. She smiled happily. Could it be that Cadian is surprisingly generous about these things? Or has he come to trust me this much? The hidden boss is the best. In any case, the matter was settled. Winston stood by the desk. He watched Cadian quietly. This is the first time I've seen the master so relaxed. It must all be thanks to the teacher. Could it be that the master has finally found his destined one? Winston's face flushed. Cadian's voice sounded cold as ice. If you have nothing to do, why do you keep looking over here? Winston quickly apologized. Please forgive me, master. I was unintentionally rude. Cadian cut him off impatiently. Enough. Winston continued, about Miss Livia. Doesn't she seem like a good person? Young Master Vincent is also very fond of her. He chuckled. Young Master Vincent listens to Miss Livia so well. This old man is a little jealous. Cadian's tone suddenly turned serious. In your opinion, is that teacher really trustworthy? Winston was stunned. The master doubts her? He immediately defended her. Of course, Miss Livia helped us when our family was nearly implicated in treason. She's also kept the master's secret and stayed by young Master Vincent's side. Master, you don't trust Miss Livia? Cadian put down his pen. I don't. Not long ago, my magic went on a rampage. When I regained consciousness, the teacher was right beside me. Winston's pupils contracted. The magic went on a rampage? When a master's magic erupts, everything around him is destroyed. But I didn't see any signs of destruction. which means the teacher left completely unharmed. Cadian added, and that cursed nightmare I have during a rampage. I didn't have it that day. One thing is certain. She is no ordinary tutor. Winston processed this shocking information. Then, Master, what do you plan to do with her? A mysterious smile played on Cadian's lips. Who knows? Time will tell. On a sunny afternoon, in the ducal study, Livia looked around. I didn't think I'd be back here again. Speaking of which, I haven't been to a festival in a long time. I should ask someone about it. Chelsea is out. Winston doesn't seem like the type to enjoy festivals. As for Cadian, she shivered. Better not to provoke Cadian. More importantly, Raymond isn't here. She walked towards the bookshelf. I want to look for some information. Is he out? Then I'll just search the study before he gets back. It should be around here. The Mercedes family library is said to be even grander than the royal library, especially its collection on the temple. If I search here, I might find clues about the ancient temple. I try to recall the original story, but it never mentioned an ancient temple. And what they used on Cadian was clearly some kind of divine power. According to his backstory, Cadian was living on the streets before he came to the Mercedes family. A voice echoed in her mind. If we succeed on the first try, we'll obtain the doll named Mercedes. Could that nightmare be related to this? Too many things don't add up. This could even be related to Cadian's downfall. I can't just do nothing. Then I'll have to dig up the information myself. She picked up a book. Night fell. The study was silent. A figure slipped in without a sound. He landed lightly and walked forward slowly. He saw her slumped over the desk, fast asleep. The man pulled down his hood, revealing a face with blonde hair and golden eyes. Raymond stared at her. This woman, why is she here? He looked at the books on her desk. They were all about the temple. Does she want to become a priest? He looked at her again. But this woman, I heard she played a huge role in exposing Anarife's crimes. And she made the young master, once known as the little devil of the Mercedes family, completely dependent on her. He picked up a strand of her hair. On the surface, she seems ordinary, but her silhouette in this moonlight looks a lot like that person. He shook his head. Livia couldn't possibly know information that only the royal family knows. This woman is too ordinary, except for the fact that she has a terminal illness. Raymond, the head of the Rune Guild. He controls all the information on the continent, except for one place, the Mercedes ducal estate. To obtain information on one of the pillars of the empire, he infiltrated it himself, but he was quickly discovered. On the condition that he assist in retrieving the lost heirloom, he was allowed to stay in the ducal estate as a servant. He successfully disguised himself with a color-changing magic tool. But this wasn't leniency. It was a real job. If he slacked off, he would be fired. He closed the book. This is why the great head of the Rune Information Guild has been reduced to climbing through windows like a thief. He sneered. I can only remain vigilant about this woman who appeared out of nowhere. I heard she's also had contact with the temple. Should I investigate the Sanus' side of things more deeply? Livia rubbed her eyes and slowly woke up. What did I fall asleep? Mr. Raymond. Raymond had a gentle smile on his face. Then let's probe the details, little by little. He spoke. Did you sleep well, Miss Livia? Livia said, I dozed off. Before I knew it, the sun had set. Raymond glanced at the books on the table. So many books about the temple. You must be very interested. Livia said, it's just a personal interest. I'm sorry for taking them out without permission. Raymond shook his head that it's fine. You seem to be looking for something. Livia was lost in thought. I've gone through all these books, but I haven't found any information about the ancient temple or its patterns. I read a related book at the academy, but I only skimmed it, so I don't even remember the title. What if that book is in the room Cadian slept in? But the person who recommended that room was Raymond himself. It would be too shameless to ask him now. I'll deal with this problem later. She turned to Raymond. Actually, Mr. Raymond, there's something I'd like to discuss with you. Raymond was a little surprised. With me? Livia said, actually, in 2 days, I'm going to the festival with the young master. But I haven't been in a long time, so I was hoping you could recommend some places. Raymond readily agreed. That's not difficult. How about this? When you get back from a festival, can you tell me what happened there? Livia was a little surprised. Of course. But may I ask why? Raymond lowered his eyes, his gaze dimming. Actually, I lost my family when I was very young. Since then, I haven't been able to go to festivals, even if I wanted to. So by hearing your story, I thought I could at least experience it vicariously. He laughed self-deprecatingly, tears welling in his eyes. It's pathetic for a grown man to still be hung up on such a small thing, isn't it? Livia quickly waved her hands. Not at all. A sense of empathy welled up in her heart. He's a lot like me. After losing my family, I never went to a festival again. She spoke. Me too. When my father was alive, we went together. That was the last time. She promised firmly. I'll be sure to tell you all about it when I get back. Raymond showed a triumphant smile. She took the bait. He spread out a map. His aura instantly became confident and professional. I'll tell you everything I know. He enthusiastically introduced places. For food, go to this restaurant. For shopping, this street is very popular. Livia said, "Wait a minute, I need to take notes." On the day of the festival, she waited at the entrance of the mansion. It's about time for Vincent to come out. She stood quietly in a beautiful red dress. Should I wait a little longer? The sound of hurried footsteps approached. Miss Livia. Before she could turn around, a small figure threw himself into her arms. She looked at Vincent's carefully dressed appearance. "You're so cute. Who dressed you up so adorably?" Vincent blushed. He whispered, "Teacher is the most beautiful in the world, too." Winston's voice came. "Hello, teacher," Livia asked. "Are you also going to the festival today?" Winston shook his head. No. Unfortunately, I'm not going. Livia was a little surprised. "And it's just me and Vincent. Then maybe there will be guards?" Winston said, "Are you saying we need to send more people? Even so, why would we need guards?" Livia was stunned. It's impossible for Winston not to know such basic common sense. She spoke, "With just the two of us, it's really not safe. After all, he is the heir to the duchy. I'm worried." Before she could finish, she saw Winston turn toward a certain direction and bow. She followed Winston's gaze. Cadian's figure emerged from the shadows of the portico. He was wearing a magnificent red formal suit, looking at them impatiently. His voice was cold. "You're talking a bit too much nonsense. Do you need more time?" She looked at Cadian in shock. She finally understood what Winston's words meant. So this is what he meant by not needing guards.